What are your thoughts on, whereas a lot of people get into this, especially through the plant medicines, where they want to go back to nature, they want to run back to the way that things were, and they have this almost an inborn fear of and distaste of technology and modernization. Where do you land on that whole concept of, we have all this technology and infrastructure and we're in this modernized world? Where do you land in that whole argument?
Yeah, I think I can apply how I think about almost everything. I always ask myself, is this working for me or is this not working for me? And it's really simple. I think on a certain level, I wear an Aura ring. I know some people who got an Aura ring and they were like, oh my God, it's giving me anxiety. I'm like, take the damn thing off, like stop tracking it. So I think, and that's kind of how I think about like peak performance. And I think that there's I think that there's such like an interesting sense of like self-criticalness, especially in Western culture. And it's like the subtle levels of just constant like self-harm. And that's why so much of the work that I do weaves in the path of the Bodhisattva, which, you touched on. I mean, Pema Chodron, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche is like, those teachings have profoundly changed my life. They've been like the primary roadmap I've used alongside the psychedelic experiences. I think that's so funny. I have this book on our podcast. You put up the Tao Te Ching, and I was like, oh yeah, this is my manual, the Shambhala, the sacred path of the warrior.
I love that.
And I've read this book like a million times. It's actually falling apart. And, but like with technology, it's like, okay, so I also have like this neurostimulation head device. I'm always like, let's play, what is this going to do for me? I'm super curious to learn. I've been playing with neurostimulation for probably about a year and a half now. I've become really good friends with Balder, Dr. Balder Onerheim, who he has a neuroscience. He's a PhD neuroscience in creativity. And so also just super interesting. He's also just interested in his own exploration around microdosing and psychedelics. And so he created this company called Plato. It's Plato Science, and the device is called Plato Work. And they sent me one. So, and now I do affiliate for them. So in all like disclosure, but I've been enjoying playing with it. There's a couple of different settings. One of them, and it's based on the direction of current in the mind and the brain. And, you're familiar with Stealing Fire and Steve Kotler and Jamie Wheel's book. And, they talk about some of the research with flow states that are induced by transcranial neurostimulation. And that's why I started getting kind of really interested in it. And I had another device and I was playing with that one, the Fisher-Wallace device. And then I found Balder's work, and they're just doing their own research right now, which they need to get like independent studies done. But I think a lot of the best research we can do is through self-reporting. That's also a lot of it with flow states. Is through years and years of Mihai Csikszentmihalyi's research being done through self-reporting. So with this, I noticed that one of the settings, in particular, the concentration setting, that when I've for many years been cultivating practices with microdosing, combining microdosing with other modalities like breath work and movement and music and meditation and specific kinds of meditation that change our brainwave states that help us think more creatively. After I go through my my morning flow, I'll put this on. And I really do notice a difference. Like when I sit down to create, because we know flow follows focus. So with all the science that I talk about, it's like, how do we leverage understanding? And actually that's one of the reasons I found Balder, is because he wrote a journal, and he wrote a paper for Frontiers, which is, a very prestigious journal. And he found that if you teach people just the neuroscience part, like they looked at other studies about training for creativity, because we can train creativity. And I'll just say, all of us, most of us listening to this, whether you're listening to it live right now or in the future, we're all products of an industrialized education system that literally favors one way of thinking, what we call convergent over divergent thinking. And so Balder in this paper proved that, or demonstrated that by teaching people the underlying neurological mechanisms for which the brain works, that we could leverage that understanding to think more creatively. And that's really why I draw upon a lot of the science. It was like, okay, how can we understand the way that the mind works? So I get into also like the neuroscience perception, for example. And there's no better way to study the mind than looking at a lot of the research that psychedelics are doing to discover how the mind works. So for this device, I track my own microdosing protocols, and I really encourage other people to do that too, if you really want to be your own sort of experimenter and scientist. And I really find that one of the settings in particular does really well. Flow follows focus. I do my whole morning flow routine, and then I put on this device for 25 minutes. I could sit down and write at the computer for like 3 hours nonstop, like just super focused. But I'm also setting up my environment. There's I think also this relationship to like discipline that people don't really love. And I heard Jason Silva talking about this on a podcast because he's so into like flow states. And there's like a certain level of discipline that we can create in our lives to help us tap into flow. And I think, technology, that's also a good example of it. Like, not being ruled by your phone, being able to actually like put your phone down, have it so that you're not distracting yourself all the time. We've become so habituated towards distraction. So, I think with technology, as much as you can make it work for you, better, why not? And if it's becoming an issue and a problem, like, look at that.
Make sure y'all head over to benjosephstewart.com, become a member. You'll have access to the growing library of deeper dives where I talk about all the stuff that I really can't talk about on YouTube. Make sure you get involved in the Discord chat. That's where a lot of the conversation is happening, talking about new theories, being able to interweave into the greater conversation that is how we awaken infinity. That's our highest potential. And I just want to remind you, you are the most powerful technology ever known to creation. Wield it like an artist with a conscience.